Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us on ANF Plus. I'm Joy Limnacker here with Brooks Baptiste. And it's time for our segment called In Case You Missed It, because it is a Monday. So, you know, you miss things. It's like, let's catch up.
And you know what, Joy, there's always something to catch up on. And this first story that we begin with is definitely one that'll have you staring at the screen saying, what in the world? All right, so take a look right here. You're seeing a bit of a tug of war that happened. And this is the man that Atlanta police say they're searching for. This man was caught on camera stealing that piece of jewelry, which we have learned that it is worth $14,000.
Wow.
So you're going to see that video come back up again in just a second. I want you to look at the man and the clerk. All right, take a look. You're seeing it. He asks for the jewelry, possibly to try it on. She hands it over to him. He yanks it, and he takes off running. So police say that's what the man did. He grabbed it, and now they're asking for help identifying the suspect in that video. By the way, this happened inside the Greenbrier Mall in Southwest Atlanta. I don't, Joy, you know, when you look at videos like this, and I've seen even some of the comments on social media, people's like, I don't know if I would have let it go. I said, look, there's insurance in those places, and nothing is worth your life, and you just don't know.
She didn't completely let it go.
Correct.
You know,
Absolutely. I think that's $14,000 worth of jewelry, and it makes you wonder if the person on camera knew that it was worth that much, or, you know, why was that the specific piece of jewelry that he asked to see? Either way, look, if you know him.
I mean, I feel like he knew, and she did. I mean, did you see her face? She did not. She was like trying to hang on.
No, she didn't want to, and I'm sure she probably felt defeated as she let it go, but glad to report that she's okay, because, you know, we've seen sometimes in robberies where things have not gone that way.
Correct.
People have lost merchandise and lost their lives,
Absolutely.
so, you know.
Absolutely not worth it.
Wow.
But you know what? They've got cameras everywhere these days, so don't think you can get away with crimes like this.
You can't, because you'll end up on the news like this guy
Yes,
is. All right.
absolutely.
So we'll be watching that closely. Another thing we want to bring to you this morning is voter registration. We're now just less than 30 days out from the presidential election. And today, if you live in Georgia, this is the final day for you to register to vote or to update your registration in Georgia. Now, Joy, I think this is so important, obviously, because there's a lot on the line in this upcoming election. Obviously, we're not just talking about presidential candidates that we're going to be voting for, but there are a slew of other issues that you will be watching and voting for as well. But then one of the things I want to bring to folks' attention is, even if you think you're registered, go back and double check, because there have been many people who have said they've gone back to the roll. They've been either purged from the roll, or they found themselves with inaccurate information. I had a buddy of mine who told me that his roll was inactive, even though he voted in the primary. My wife had the wrong ethnicity under hers, and all of those things may stop you when you get to the ballot box from being able to cast your vote. So you want to make sure you do what you have to do to double check and triple check, and we've got information for you on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. In Atlanta News First, Chelsea Bimefore has more of a look this morning on what you can do to ensure all is well before that deadline.
If you live in another metro Atlanta county, you can also register at your own local board of elections. You can also register to vote online as long as you have a valid Georgia driver's license. Or you can also do a mail-in application as long as it's postmarked by today, October 7th. A large civil rights coalition also is calling on Governor Brian Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to extend the voter registration deadline by at least 1 week following a chemical fire in Rockdale County and Hurricane Helene, which impacted many Georgia communities. Raffensperger says, though, at this point, all elections offices are prepared.
I know that we had in one county, Jenkins County, blew out the windows in the voting county election office, but the machines were fine. But we do have additional equipment in reserve.
That civil rights coalition argues that those recent disasters could prevent people from being able to register to vote on time. At this point, though, no plans have been announced to extend that deadline. Reporting from the Fulton County Government Center, Chelsea Bimefore, Atlanta News First.
And turning now to an ANF investigation.
When we
An
first
ANF
met Lenox City
investigation
Mayor
uncovers that
Henry
Georgia
Baker in
police have been
June, he
breaking
felt
the law.
passionate that
State
drivers who
investigators
speed
discovered the city
should
of
be
Lenox,
held
Georgia,
accountable
about 3
If they're
hours south
breaking
of
the law,
Atlanta,
by
was
its
altering
police
tickets
department.
to
They take
hide
the
how
oath of
much
holding
money
law.
it was collecting from speeding citations.
An Atlanta News First
Investigative
investigation
reporter
uncovered
Andy
the city
Crotty has the
has now been
response from the
found
chief.
in violation of the law itself. 27 days after this city council meeting, the Georgia Department of Public Safety suspended Lennox's speed detection device permits for 180 days, meaning its officers cannot write speeding tickets for nearly 6 months. State investigators writing the city consistently altered tickets that had the effect of excluding the fines and forfeitures for citations issued for speeding, making it appear Lennox officers wrote fewer speeding citations than they actually did.
Abuse of power.
Abuse of power.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Charlie Johnson got a speeding ticket in Lennox earlier this year. He says he didn't deserve.
My response to that was I felt used.
According to state investigators, after officers ticketed drivers for speeding, the city often changed citations to unsafe driving. That practice allowed the city to circumvent a state law that caps revenue from speeding fines at 35% of a police department's budget. After the Georgia Department of Public Safety audited the city, it discovered Lennox generated nearly 40% from speeding citations last year. Records show the city altered Charlie's speeding ticket, too. Knowing what you know now, do you question whether your speeding ticket was legitimate?
Oh, I know it wasn't legitimate. Yeah, I never had a question about whether it was legitimate.
The state's response follows an Atlanta News First investigation which uncovered Lennox relies on the profit from its police force more than any other city in the state. In 2022, it collected $1.3 million from fines and forfeitures. That's nearly 73% of the town's budget. For a city of about 800 people that covers less than 2 square miles along Interstate 75. We asked the mayor about that revenue in June. With so much revenue coming from traffic citations, some question, what's the real motive? Safety or raising revenue?
Starts no one unless they're doing over 90 miles an hour up there.
It's hard to hear, but Mayor Baker told us officers only ticket drivers who speed more than 90 miles per hour. During a hearing this past August with the Georgia Department of Public Safety, Lennox Police Chief Shane Daughtry claimed the ticket alterations were an accident.
This is just honestly an honest mistake. I did not monitor it. I did not keep up with it. It's on me. It's my fault.
State investigators at the hearing said the practice seemed intentional.
And another concern we had, if you don't mind, Colonel, is 85% of your revenue was speed-based. Only one ticket in 3 years was not written on the interstate for speeding in a 3-year period. That tells me there's not a whole lot of enforcement going on other than the interstate.
Understand? There's not a whole lot going on in Lennox other than that aspect.
And hundreds of people gathered over the weekend at Assembly Atlanta for NAMI Walks, a public display of unity in the fight for mental health for all. NAMI stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Atlanta News First reporter Sawyer Bussey was there and has some of the stories that made up the crowd.
I am NAMI Walks.
People are making a statement today.
I walk for NAMI. I am NAMI.
Despite the different stories they came here with, they will walk the next steps together.
We're here beside you, and because we're beside you, you're never alone. As a family, we can all overcome everything. And when we think about the mental health community, we're all one family.
Go NAMI!
Each person has the opportunity to walk for someone, even if it's for themselves.
I suffer with depression and anxiety. So instead of sitting in and suffering in silence, being here, you feel like you're not alone anymore.
Sometimes you're walking for someone who can't be here, someone who you still advocate for, even if it's your son, even if he can't see it.
He was a brilliant young man. He graduated from Woodward with honors. He got a Bachelor of Fine Arts from the Berklee School of Music in Boston. At age 40, June 7th, 2021, he succumbed to suicide.
Each person with their story made their way around a field at Assembly Atlanta. The event was sponsored by Atlanta News First.
It's great to have everybody out here today, and when we hear people say, I am NAMI Walks, we are NAMI Walks.
Getting you to a place where you can feel
and see yourself in other people's experiences.
All the way from NAMI to the finish line.
Together, the separate stories become one story of unity, of hope. In Atlanta, Sawyer Bussey, Atlanta News First.
And more on that and all of our top stories on AtlantaNewsFirst.com, also by downloading our free mobile news app. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.